Nazeistra's Devotion, the hand cannon that can. I shall henceforth just be referring to this weapon as Devotion because trying to say Nazeistras, I'm on my 9th take and I still can't get it right. We're like 20 seconds into the video and I've got so many outtakes from this bit alone that Devotion, fuck it. Now this one weapon alone has made me hate the vast majority of the first Descendant community because no one seems to understand how this weapon works. It's very simple. You shoot weak point, you remove enemy defense. That is it. Now I know some smarty's going to be all like, oh, but like the shield recovery on allies, it's shit. Don't shoot your friends then. Like, it very clearly says, on hitting an enemy's weak point, inflicts the unique ability Devotion's Mark on the enemy. Devotion's Mark, duration 3 seconds, defense negative 30. That's all you need to worry about. All you need to worry about. And one thing I need to make clear though is reducing the enemy's defense by 30% does not mean 30% more damage. It is a scale. Okay. For this, we're going to be entering returns by scale, and from the testing that I've done with armor, it tends to be around 12% for the vast majority of enemies at level 100, running around like a lunatic in the open world. Against some of the bosses, it drops down to like 10, sometimes 9%, and I have done testing for the Colossus, which I will be sharing with you in hilarious fashion because I have no idea. Well, I have a very huge idea of what's going on, and I don't know why I thought to test this in the first place because, yeah. Now, the buff of Devotion is obviously revolving around weak point, but if you actually take a closer look at its base stats, it is quite obvious that it is a little bit more crit orientated, which is kind of a weird one, which means that realistically, if you wanted to build this for maximum performance, you kind of need to make a mostly balanced build, but ever so slightly leaning more into the crit, which I'll hopefully demonstrate when I show my build completely. Now, there is actually a very, very good ultimate mod for this, which is upon hitting weak point, you get more crit chance and crit damage. This is very powerful, and it's also just absolutely hilarious that this weapon is apparently getting buffed soon for more crit. It's already probably the strongest hand cannon, and they're buffing it. Good effort. Good effort. I don't know who hustled the devs into thinking this way, but, sir, if I had a hat, I would tip it to you. Right. What you're going to be seeing now is me trying to figure out roughly how much damage increase we're going to be getting from the defense debuff that Devotion gives the enemies. It changes per enemy, per faction. Not every enemy has the same armor values, which is really annoying. So I've tried to test it on the guys that are more problematic, the heavier, juicier, tanky guys, the ones that sometimes we look at and go, oh, I can't be bothered dealing with him, you know? So Legion of Immortality, it works out at its lowest 10.27%. More damage, debuffing. The highest I was able to get is about 12.2. So it's between 12.2 and 10.2. Yeah. Order of Truth. These are weird. 0%. And you might also notice that I'm hitting like over 1 million. I originally thought this was a bug or something to do with the range. So I started running around the open world. No. Order of Truth. The big guys, the tankier ones, the ones that look like monsters that spew acid or whatever and crap at you, they have like no armor. They have no armor for you to debuff. They're very resistant to element, but they have no armor for you to debuff. The little scraggly guys that run around on the floor, they've got about 40% armor, which you can basically completely negate with Devotion, but then at the same time, just shooting them anywhere in the toe with a non-crit basically kills them. Legion of Damned, these are actually kind of weird. I would have thought these would be the tankier ones since they're the ones that always appear in massive chunks of armor, but you actually tend to get more out of them. You get about 11.15%. The interesting one with these was the Vulgus War Slaves. They have very, very low armor, apparently, or defense, whatever you want to call it. They are just massive health sponges. Weird. Now, just because I'd like to give everyone the opportunity to laugh at me being an absolute idiot, I then tried to test this against Colossi. Would anyone like to know what the big problem was trying to test this against Colossi? In short, the buggers move a lot. The drop-off for hand cannons is pretty extreme, but these are the results I got anyway, which are clearly not accurate. No one fucking screenshot this and put it on Reddit and be like, hey, this idiot's saying that bloody... No, right? If anything, this is a more accurate test to range drop-off than it is anything else. The only one that I could potentially consider remotely accurate, one, it didn't involve crit. I was mostly going off crit. The damage difference is going to be the same for crit and non-crit because it's a multiplier. Pyromaniac, I got those 2 shots off pretty quick and he moved maybe 10 feet. That was it. The rest of the time, I was either unable to get consistent crits or non-crits, or there was just too much going on. And one of them, I got a really good damage number in twice in the same place, but they were overlapped. So I literally couldn't even read the number. It was very obnoxious, and I hated the entire test. Now, just to show that Pyromaniac one that I was on about, this is going to be hard to judge. I'm pretty sure he moves ever so slightly closer to me, but it's hard to tell because it's kind of at like an odd angle. And there's going to be 3 shots. The first shot is going to be like our base, essentially. The second shot is a crit, but we're going to discount that. And then the third shot is a non-crit. So first shot coming up, here it is. We got 5, 5, 3, 4, 2. We're now going to get our second shot, which is a crit. Hopefully you can see that here. But then our third shot is 5, 3, 7, 4, 7. We're getting more damage. How far he has moved and how much our damage has changed per meters moved is kind of now going to be the problem. From the estimates I've done, this is working out to, just the debuff, is working out to about 12.1% damage increase, and that's me being generous about him moving quite a bit closer. Right, on to the build. Action and reaction. More firearm attack, obvious reasons. The increase in recoil actually isn't that much of a problem because the weapon on its unique actually has an aim recovery timer, which helps to mitigate some of the recoil, which is quite nice actually. It's actually quite a nice feeling weapon when playing around with it. Rifle reinforcement, for obviously just more attack. We need more Unga Bungas. It's a hand cannon. Let's make it feel like one. Insight focus for more critical hit rate, as well as a little bit of critical hit damage. Toxic reinforcement, on the reason we've gone for, it's not reinforcement, it's enhancement. For the reason we've gone for toxic enhancement is when we actually get this weapon, obviously I've crystalled every slot at this point, but this one, Rutile or Rutil, whatever it's called, comes with the weapon natively. I couldn't be asked crystalling it out or doing something else with it, so I just went, you know what, toxic. If you want to do it, it will cost you an extra crystal. I believe I've got 5 in this, maybe even 6. Weak point insight, which is probably going to be questionable for a lot of people, but the reason I've gone for this is quite simply for dealing with trash mobs and trash ads, I want to ensure at the very least, one shot they're dead, and if not, the second shot will deal with them. I'm constantly trying to aim for weak points anyway, so I didn't really feel increasing the fire rate was actually that important, simply because most of the time I don't need to shoot twice, unless I'm doing a Colossus, in which case, honestly, I feel like this just performs more, but that's just me. Better insight for more critical hit rate, better concentration for more critical hit damage, and obviously weak point sight for more weak point. You can see my stats on the left-hand side. We've got like 70% crit rate. We've got a ×5 critical hit damage, and we've got like a 2.6 times on weak point. After that, we have concentration priority for more critical hit damage. Very, very useful and handy mod. And for the final point is dopaminergic activate. I'm hoping my pronunciation was on point. On weak point hit, firearm critical hit rate is increased by 45.5% and critical hit damage by 67.7%. Now, interestingly, this is being applied. So if I remove this and then save, you should notice these goes down to like 53 and 3.7. I don't understand why this is being applied. Like, this is the only ultimate mod that I have found that is just magically being applied. I don't know why. But yeah, that's like the full stats with this applied. And having a cooldown of 5 seconds is pretty damn easy. It's like every other shot on this gun. As for the rolls, I have weak point, critical hit rate, critical hit damage, and firearm attack. I would like to get that firearm attack higher, obviously, but it's becoming so expensive at this point to roll just that one, that for now, until I have a massive stockpile and nothing else to do in my life, I'm going to be leaving it as this. Anyway, that is my devotion build. Hopefully you found this helpful, educational. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. Just if you could, let me know why in the comments. In the meantime, though, have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.